have the Deputy County Mayor Kevin Conway, Chairman of Cobh Municipal District, Councillor Anthony Barry, Councillor Cahal Rasmussen, welcome. Also Councillor Dermot O'Coida, Chairman of Cobh Tourism Hendrik Verwoy, and the Chairperson and President, all in the one go, of the Cork Adult Education Council UCC. And you never gave me your name.
Richard Cobh.
Richard Cobh. My apologies. You didn't. And also
Richard T. Coast to the bad news.
Also, of course, welcome to Kieran, the founder of Cobh Rebel Walking Tours. I lived in Cobh the first 30 years of my life, and over 20 years gone now. And it was great to come back yesterday and see so many things that have changed, so many things that are changing. And I just spoke to Hendrik about being, I didn't come here by road or by rail this evening. I came across in a life jacket from Munstown in 4 minutes and climbed up the ladder outside on the Dolphin and came straight in the door. But I would love to see more water access to Cobh, and I think all of Cobb's facilities, including its walking tours, would benefit greatly from increased water access. I'm not sure if the board want it, but I think it would be fantastic. It's great to see so many tourists coming in by water, but what about the local people is what I say. Anyway, that's a horse for a different day. I had the pleasure, of course, of coming back to Cobh yesterday. I wasn't going to stand here without having done the tour. So myself, my wife and 2 of my kids went along on the tour. I never thought I'd be climbing those steps again out there. But a very engaging and very interesting tour. How fantastic it was to hear the names of the estates and the streets that I grew up in. You know, getting a bit of the meaning and a bit of the sense behind that. The connection of Patrick Pearse and James Connolly to this town. If you don't know, I would advise you, I won't spoil it for you here, but Patrick Pearse's father worked extensively in the church, and causing his son to visit here quite often. I suppose, hiding of James Connolly in the Rob Roy bar, and his subsequent return quite peacefully, as you know, he was considered a huge communist. But a lot more of the sad stories as well. But when you juxtapose everything that went on in this town, and it had its fair share of poverty, but for a town that was, I suppose, punching above its weight in supplying the chattels of the British Empire, the war machine of the British Empire, and you know, that created an awful lot of wealth in this town, alongside the poverty. For it to step up and be one of the prime and principal foremost rebel towns was kind of against the grain in that way, and that's, I think, what the tour gives as well. So that's my own impression of what's happening and what the tour is all about. It's not the only walking tour in Cobh, and look how successful the other one has been, and I think this has all of the potential to be the same. And I think in the fullness of time, maybe in a year or two, you'll have your own little translators that are going around people's necks. You'll have Germans and people from Swaziland and everything coming into Cobh. So I know that some of the councillors have to go to an AGM which begins at 8 o'clock. So without further ado, I'll ask on the Deputy County Mayor, Kevin Conway, to say a few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I thank Mick Cross, as you all know, is well adept at speaking. So am I come from Blarney, I kiss the sun. So we have a bit of a competition here. I would like to acknowledge at the start my colleagues from Cork County Council who have been mentioned, in particular the Chairman of the Municipal District, Councillor Alan Barry, Councillor Cahal Rasmussen, who's there as well, Councillor Kieran McCarthy here, of course, who's the driving force behind this. I've left out some councillor. Who did I leave out? Dermot O'Coida is here as well. But I significantly, by the way, and this very regularly happens, in the midst of you all is possibly the quietest man in Cork County Council, the man in charge of our heritage unit, Dr. Cobh Milligan, who's standing here in the centre. He deserves that round of applause because he is a tremendous worker in Cork County Council in these events. He's the man actually behind all the history of this county primarily for quite a number of years in Cork County Council. He's always the right, stands in the middle or stands in the back. He never takes a front seat for anything. He's the man who does the work way over and above for what he is paid to. So I'd like to acknowledge. Personally, I find it brilliant that such a rebel walking tour is to take place here in Cobh. Cobh, of course, has a significant history anyway in regard to World War I and World War II, and indeed the invasion of the British forces here on one or 2 occasions as well. So there was a significant history behind Cobh, and of course, Cobh is a prime area in Cork Harbour itself, so it would be affected by anything that happened around the harbour. But it is significant that we celebrate, or commemorate, I suppose would be the correct word, the War of Independence. The War of Independence is possibly, for most of us, the most significant thing that has happened in modern history in Ireland. And it affected, particularly it affected County Cork, which is primarily where it gets its name, the rebel county, from. Because all over County Cork, including Cobh, skirmishes, ambushes, and fights took place. Many local people, the descendants of whom are still living in Cobh today, took part in those ambushes and skirmishes, as they did in the army. Now, the funny thing is, I look around here and I see some young people, they're possibly at a disadvantage. People as old as me probably have an advantage when it comes to the War of Independence, because the people that fought in my family lived near me and were still alive when I was growing up. The younger generation of my family, actually I don't come from a family, I come from a tribe. There's 13 of us there, and I'm the second eldest. But the youngest of my family have more appreciation of this, because my granduncles, who fought directly in the War of Independence, and many of them are named in the War of Independence, were still alive, living in the local area when I grew up. So I got the history directly from them, and I was affected very much by their thinking and by the independence of Ireland. So people of my generation are the last generation to have a direct link with the War of Independence. But I also admire younger people, because, and I've spoken to many of them over the years. I'm actually involved in the Army District Historical Society, so I do a lot of historical research. Anyway, but the younger people have possibly a more open view than I have. And that's the advantage of being young, by the way. You're looking at it with a clean slate, whereas we have been affected because we were there. So there are two sides to the equation. But having said that, it's a fantastic idea to commemorate it in a place like Cobh. 16 different sites, significant sites tours that happens in Cobh to be seen. A very well worth tour to be seen and to be heard as well, by the way. Because for anyone who doesn't know the facts of an area like Cobh in the War of Independence, this is where you'll hear it. Because these stories have been handed down directly to the people now that are now going to tell you the stories as you walk around the different sites in Cobh. And to me, that's a fantastic thing. I wish actually that they would do the same thing in Blarney, because as I say, any of us that have grown up with the stories would appreciate the significance of it. I salute Cobh Tourism in particular for getting involved in this, and of course Cork County Council, who have always been to the fore in commemorating different events, as they were in 1916 as well. Fair play to them. And I also salute Kieran, who has taken this up as a project and taken it as far as here, and I have no doubt it will go from strength to strength. And by the time the centenary of the War of Independence takes place, we'll all know what is happening. And this is actually very timely, that it should start now. It's a bit late waiting until 1921 or 2021 to commemorate, because the significance is lost within a short period of time. This is perfect timing. I admire them. I wish you all the best, right? And I hope you have an enjoyable evening. Thank you very much.
Councillor Kevin Conway. If you think you came from a tribe, does anyone remember Danny Jordan from Westview? About nearly 40 years ago, I was serving drink, 12, 13 years of age only, in Cllr Hotel Bar. We started young, I was picking up classes at 11. And Danny found out who I was. You're not Cathy, are you? And next thing, he says, yeah, who's your dad? I said, Tony. Who's your granddad? Michael. Well, I never met him, he died when my dad was very young. I said, oh yeah, I have you know. He said, I live up in Westview as well. He said, there's an old saying in Westview, if you look up your chimney, you'll be about Cathy looking down. We came over yesterday at 11 o'clock to 12 for the tour, and I was very pleasantly surprised. And fair play to Cobh Tourism, the place was just bedecked with flowers. There was 2 or 3 or 4 walking tours, I think, yesterday and the whole day. And there was no liner in, even though there was the day before. And the place was absolutely buzzing, and I mean that genuinely. There was people dining al fresco, there was people sitting outside, what's the name of the bar down from the Cllr Hotel? Kelly's. Of course I remember it when the bar was on the other side. The place was absolutely buzzing, so I want to also salute Cobh Tourism for that. And now we call on the chairman of Cobh Tourism, Hendrik Furrow, for a few words.
phase, and well done on taking the plunge, as it were. I suppose it's fitting that we're standing here in what was and what became Cobb's first tourist attraction sometime around 30 years ago, when this was a derelict shed, and there was foresight within the community to do something about that, and the realisation was what is today Cobh Heritage Centre, Cobh, the Queenstown story, taking its place as one of the top tourist attractions in Cobh, but of course there are so many more now at this stage. I think it's true to say, you know, we're still at the stage where people tend to come to Cobh for today, and we'd like them to come to Cobh to stay, but of course there's an issue in that there's not enough places for them to stay. And I suppose just a little bit of an aside there, I think really it's something that the planning department in Cork County Council need to grasp by the horns, I suppose, really, in that there was a local area plan for Cobh, which was then thrown out the window because of some, because the Cobh Town Development Plan is still in place. But in that draft plan, there was absolutely no mention of a site for a hotel anywhere in Cobh. And you know, sites are limited. If somebody decides to build something else on them, well then that's the end of that site. And if Cobh doesn't actually have somewhere to bring people in and to stay the night, well then, you know, it's not really going to develop into what we want it to be, which is the tourism destination on the south coast of Ireland. And that's an aside, but of course there is an awful lot to do in Cobh and Cork Harbour, and of course we're part of really, you know, in anyone's mind, we're only 25 minutes from Cork City, so we're really a part of Cork City's tourism product as well. I congratulate Kieran on taking the plunge. Tourism is all about creating jobs, and I think tourism, unlike a lot of other industries, is deeply embedded in the community. A lot of tourism businesses are small operations, they're one-man operations, they're family-run, and they, believe it or not, managed the downturn in the economy particularly well. Just because the people were living here, they didn't have an option to up sticks and leave, you know, like some large corporations could do at the drop of a hat. And of course, you know, again, Kieran has taken the plunge, and he's been supported, I think, locally by AIB, which is great to see. And you know, and of course, his passion for history really is going to stand to him, because if you have a passion for what you're doing, well then you've half the battle won. And Kieran absolutely has a passion for history. I wish him well. A lot of what he's doing already, I heard today that he's cross-promoting and he's selling. His tour ends at the Mauritania Bar, which is fantastic. The Mauritania Bar is in no way in competition with Kieran's tour, so it absolutely makes perfect sense to get people to stay a little bit longer in the town. And I think an offer of 20% off a drink in a bar is probably a good way to start. And of course, that's not unique to Kieran and his new enterprise, like the Heritage Centre here has teamed up with the Titanic Trail, where they offer, you know, a larger package that would basically keep people in the town for 3 hours, as compared to maybe 1 hour if people only did one of them. And that's really the way to go. And I suppose, okay, I don't think Cobh Tourism could really take the credit for Cobh being buzzing, but we're absolutely delighted that it is buzzing. What really happened over the years is that individuals set up businesses and they worked very, very hard at those businesses. They're world-class tourist attractions. They bring people in, and then of course what we need to do is keep people in that little bit longer. So as I said, we need to cross-promote. And one way of doing that is to join an organisation like Cobh Tourism. It's true that a rising tide lifts all boats, but I think it's only fair and it's important that if you join an organisation like Cobh Tourism, well then you can actually be a part of rising the tide to lift all the boats. So once again, congratulations Kieran, I wish you every success, and thank you for inviting me to be here tonight.
Well done, Hendrik. I fully agree with what you said about his passion for history. We had to curtail the tour to an hour yesterday because of an appointment with a certain Mr. Justin Bieber. Less said about that than we had to go to Dublin. But I'm sure the tour is pegged for an hour and 20 minutes, and I know for a fact you'd still have been talking to us 2 hours later if we didn't have to run. Our next speaker, there's not many more, so will you please welcome the Chairman of Cobh Municipal District, Councillor Anthony Barry. Kieran, fellow councillors, Deputy Lord Mayor. My memories of Cobh being over the bridge up all the way from Carrigtwohill was initially coming in to do battle, play hurling and football with the Morgans, the Buckles, guys that I ended up growing up with, and some even have come out over and have joined us in Carrigtwohill, and we have been made very welcome. So, but my abiding memory coming into Cobh was IFI, the steel, the dockyards, and the industrial nature of Cobh. And and Mick, you were saying about a hotel. Well, there was a hotel at the time in Spike, but nobody was paid to stay there at the time, if I remember. But that was Cobh. And Cobh went through a bad period, right? It kind of lost its industrial base, and it struggled for a few years. But the change I've seen in Cobh in the last number of years has been really phenomenal. And it came home to me last March, I think it was Mother's Day. Myself and my good wife came down for a walk in the 5 foot way, and we were going for a drink. It was a beautiful day in March, and I could not get over the amount of tourists that were rambling around on a Sunday in March in Cobh. And it kind of struck home that Cobh is now a destination town. And there's been a lot of great initiatives brought to Cobh, and I'm delighted, Kieran, that you brought this, because the Republican history in Cobh is well known and renowned throughout East Cork. Indeed, there's a lot of people in Carrigtwohill who would like to claim that they took the barracks in Carrigtwohill, which was the first barracks in the country, if I'm right, to be taken. But it wasn't actually, it was the Cobh Brigade came out and took it further. So they wouldn't be too happy with me saying that, but that was the history of it. And it's well that we remember that, because it was said, and I think you touched on it, I treated my grandparents fought in the War of Independence. But yet I never got them to speak much about it. It was always something that was out there, and kind of, look, we'll forget about that, because there's a lot of bad history there. And, I think it's fantastic. It has been brought to the fore, and I want to thank Conor for his initiative last year with the 1916 promotion by Cork County Council. It was done very, very well, Conor. It's been a fantastic, and hopefully we'll have a great decade to celebrate what was probably, a very traumatic period in our history. And I suppose, I'm not a female, but as everyone knows, any childbirth is tough and hard, and the birth of a nation can be very, very hard as well. So Kieran, I wish you the very best with this initiative. Well done, and I hope it'll be very successful for you. And our final speaker, who else but the man himself, Kieran McCarthy.
I was going to say that there, we have a return match. We went back out to Cork and took your barracks, but you got in ahead of me. Look, I'd like to start by getting all the thank yous out of the way. There's a pile of you in the room here tonight that helped me get this off the ground, and there's too many of you to name, so I won't, but you all know who you are. I don't want to leave anyone out, so thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. What I will do is I will thank the people that helped organise this tonight. I will start with Mick McCarthy, and his lovely family that came over to us yesterday. Mick, as you know, is Mr. Wind-Up, and I won ready for him now at the end of the night. He came over yesterday, fair play to him, and I was delighted when he answered the call and said he would do this for us, he'd do the MC tonight. He brought over his lovely family. His two daughters, Alex and Lauren, and they met two very famous people yesterday. And I am glad to say that I was first in before Justin Bieber. I would like to thank Jack and his staff for having us here tonight, and Henrik, Cork Tourism. I'd like to welcome all the councillors, my fellow councillors, and particularly Kevin, who associated there as the Deputy Mayor. And Conor, thanks for coming, Conor. Now, a big thank you is due to you, not for just coming tonight, but for everything you've done throughout the county with regards to the centenary celebrations. And in no small part, what you did for us, you helped us, the Cobh 1916 commemorative committee, erect 3 monuments in Cobh over the last year. I suppose what this enterprise is really about is where tourism and history meets. Now, as the previous speaker said there, Cobh is unrecognisable from what it was 20 years ago. the tourism, there's more ships coming in, there's more buses coming in, trains. People generally, even as Mick said there earlier, there was no shipping yesterday, but the town was buzzing. And they're coming to Cobh because they're getting a good product, and they know they're getting it. It's just buzzing with history. If you exclude Dublin and Belfast, there's no other town in Ireland that can boast the history that Cobh has. Because of our history, because of the imperialist, strategic our position in the British Empire over the last number of centuries, by its very nature, we were going to be part of that history, whether we wanted it or not. Every imperial adventure, military imperial adventure that took place around the globe during British times, this was the staging post for it, this town and harbour. The families of the volunteers, the parents, a lot of the parents of the volunteers during the War of Independence were ex-servicemen. Some of the volunteers themselves were apprentices over in the naval, as they call it, the Army Fleet Dockyard. So the whole town was steeped in it. Now we celebrate and we can talk about all the history to do foreign imperial wars with the Navy, the British Navy and the British Army and the whole lot. What this is doing, what I plan to do with this Cobh Rebel Walking Tours is open up the story bigger, because it is a way bigger story. Our history is not just about maritime disasters, the Titanic and the Lusitania. They're all important things and they are all part of our culture and our history. But there is more to it than that. And there is this story, Cobh Rebel Walking Tours. Because the previous history that we spoke about, the British history, it was handed to the people of Cobh. The script was written already. Decisions were made in London and elsewhere. But this story was written directly by the ordinary people of Cobh themselves, the men and women, volunteers that took on an empire. They wrote it themselves. It's their story that we are going to tell. So when we have visitors coming off the ships or the buses or whatever, they're going to hear the whole story, because Cobh already, as I said, has already walking tours, different historical stories to tell. I'm going to tell you this one. And it is a lovely story. It's a very encouraging and brave story. When the men and the women of Cobh, the volunteers, and the teenagers, there were a lot of teenagers involved, when they took on an empire, they didn't do it just with military force. They also took the battle into the political arena. For example, on the 2nd of July, 1920, can anyone tell me what happened here in Cork? 2nd of July, 1920.
The name was changed.
The name was changed. Cobh made the headlines nationally because a group of men, Republicans, over in the town hall, which is now the tourist office or the library, on the 2nd of July, they voted and they changed the name of the town. They abolished Queenstown and they brought in Cobh, C-O-B-H, as a temporary measure. Now, we won't go into all that, but the temporary measure, what the idea behind that was, people were deprived of the right to have a vote in 1849 when Queenstown was foisted upon them. The Republican councillors decided, we are not going to do that again. We will change the name temporary, and later on, we will put it to the cliff side of the people. But that never happened because we had, unfortunately, a civil war. A lot of people has a misconception that we changed our name in Cobh after 1922, after independence. It was changed right in the height of the War of Independence. It was a very brave and hostile thing to do. Because, for example, one of the councillors who went in to vote that day had to sneak in, James Ahern, had to sneak into the council meeting because he was on the run. He was being hounded by the British forces. He managed to vote. He got in and got his vote and he got out again. That's the sort of atmosphere. A lot of the council meetings were raided constantly over in the town hall because Republican forces also take place there, and the British used any excuse to raid and upset a meeting, council meetings. But they managed to get it through that way. So if you think about it, that was a very, very bold statement, because there's no other town in the whole country, north, south, east or west, that made a gesture like that up to that point, 1920. It was another 2 years before they got their independence in the south. So, what I would like to suggest here now tonight, and put it out there to the business community, Cobh tourism, everyone. In 3 years' time, on the 2nd of July, will be the centenary of that event. We should be selling that to the world. We should be commemorating it, celebrating it, telling the world, telling the whole of Ireland, this is what we've done. We are proud of it, and we are going to celebrate it. The Americans have the 4th of July, we have the 2nd of July. We've been ahead of them. Why not? It's something to think about. It's something to think about going forward. You know? Our past was very far too long. It's time to open up and talk about it. So, that's it really. I'd like to just give you a couple of, just briefly, I just want to speak about the actual tour itself. Now, most of you know that it's going for the last 5 or 6 weeks. And it's going to be a bit light-hearted now. It is for me. I don't know when you get the humour of this, but I got the humour of it anyway. When it started, the one thing I was a bit apprehensive about was the fact that our neighbours across the water, they make up about 40% of our tours every year. Now, I knew when I started this, we're going to be dealing with a lot of those people when they come off the ships or buses or whatever. And I was a bit apprehensive because opening up and selling this story to people from the UK would not be an easy thing to do. Because first of all, they had a totally different education system to us. They wouldn't be aware of it. They weren't going to hear a lot of this stuff for the first time. And secondly, I didn't want to offend people or upset them, you know. And I was really more uncomfortable than anyone else. And I was saying, how am I going to get around this? You know? Sooner or later, there's going to be English people who want to do the tour. And sure enough, the day came when we had a tour. I think it was the Caribbean Princess came in. And we had 2 Australians, a Canadian, and 2 people from, a couple from Cornwall. And I was a bit shaky, like, how long am I going to do this now? And I was going through the whole spiel and telling them the history. And every now and then I would give a glance at the English couple to see how are they taking this. Like, it never dawned on me that the fact that they wanted to do the tour, this big bold rebel thing, if they want to do that, now obviously they're not going to be upset. They know what it is, but of course I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking, geez, I better watch myself here and how I work things. And we were going along into the tour, and Grant, telling them, showing them the ambush sites, and the policeman was shot there, and such a thing happened there. Devil there, hidden over in that house there, and Father Pierce, blah, blah, blah. Going along, Grant. And eventually we got to the, I think it was the 4th last site on the tour, which was